Hello and welcome. This is Candace from Candoodle, and I'm super excited to be joining the Pawsome Stamps video design team. For my first card, I wanted to show how to stretch your Christmas or holiday stamps to make this really cute sort of Valentine's Day card. So let's get started. So I'm starting off with the Gingerbread Lane stamp set. I think this is so cute, and I know normal people would see this and think of Christmas or holiday gingerbread cards, but the first time I saw this stamp set, my brain immediately thought Candyland. I don't know why. I'll show you a picture of what I'm talking about, but I knew I wanted to make kind of a Candyland-themed card to stretch these stamps into a sort of sweet Valentine's Day card. So I'm taking out all of these stamps that I'm going to be using, and I'm starting with a piece of scratch paper. So this is just where I'm going to kind of get my layout together before I actually do it on my proper card base. So I'm just kind of coming in with my acrylic block and seeing where things are going to go, and I'm not being careful with the stamping at all because again, this is just going to serve as a template for when I do my actual card. I like to do this anytime I'm doing masking so I know where things are going to go. So now I have my template and I can easily line up where my stamp is going to go and then take my good card base and put that stamp there. I'm also going to create a mask for those little gumdrops while I'm there, and then I'm going to go back to my template, move it over, and then stamp it on my good copy, which is my card base. So I'm going to go through and do that for all of the stamps and then mask as needed. I really only needed to mask those two little gumdrops. You could totally do this without masking. I just really like the look of when things kind of appear that they're in the foreground and background. I think it adds a lot of interest, especially if your card is more clean and simple like this one that I'm doing here. So you could definitely achieve the same look without masking and just putting the stamps beside each other, but I thought that would add some additional fun. So for the last part, I'm coming in with that row of gumdrops and I'm just inking up the part that is going to go to the edge of the card. And then I did have to rotate it in my MISTI to make sure that it fit going on the other side. And then once that's done, we are going to move on and take the masks off, which is always my favorite part. And then I'm going to start on my Copic coloring. I'm by no means a Copic expert, but I do like coloring with alcohol ink markers. I find that they blend really well, which I enjoy, but you could definitely do this in whatever coloring medium you enjoy. So that could be colored pencils, watercolor, anything to your heart's content. I knew I wanted to make my house pink just to kind of go with that Candyland sort of feel, and I ended up using some RVs. So I used RV 09, 06, 04, 02, and RV 10. I always try to put my colors down the side there so you can see which ones I'm using, but I do like to mention them as well in case you're interested. For the roof, I went a little bit darker. That's where I brought in my RV 09 a little bit more, and my RV06, so I just kind of wanted to add some interest, and then I colored the chimney in those exact same colors. And then I'm going to move on to do some of the little candy that's scattered about. So for the lollipops, I used purple, so I used two of my V colors, and then for the in-between, I wanted it to look a little bit white, but still have some color and not be so kind of dull. So I just used a little bit of a lighter purple and then blended it out with a colorless blender. And then for the gumdrops, I kind of just used a bunch of pastel-y, sort of whimsical looking colors. So I used two of each color for the gumdrops for the most part. Some of them I used three, but for the most part, I just used two and blended them out just to add a little bit of interest. And my coloring on these isn't perfect because we are going to come back in and add a bunch of detail to look kind of like sugar and whimsical. So I'm going to do that after and you'll see that. So I'm just saying you don't have to have perfect coloring always, especially if it's going to get covered up by other details. Then I'm coming in and I wanted my roof to be covered in icing, so I just added a little bit of gray to give it some detail. And then my door, I wanted it to look like, you know, one of those graham cracker cookies that has chocolate. So I colored it in kind of a graham cracker cookie color. And then for the heart and around the door, I used some deep E colors to make it look like it was chocolate. For the little spots on the roof that are like gumballs or candies, I'm coming in with the same colors I used on the gumdrops just to finish those off. So to really make this look like Candyland, I wanted to put in the game board pathway. So it's made up of little colorful bricks, and I'll put a picture in so you know what I'm talking about. So I came in and drew that with pencil just to kind of get an idea of where I wanted to go, and then I separated them into little bricks. And once I was happy with how it was looking, I came in with a micron pen and outlined them. I like to start with pencil to make sure I don't mess anything up first, and then come in with my micron, which is an archival permanent ink that's safe with Copics. So I knew that I could color these bricks in with Copics afterwards. And I thought this is a really nice kind of personal touch, especially because this will probably just be for my sister, and we grew up playing this game on our PC. It came in like a CD that came in a cereal box. I don't know if I'm the only one who experienced that or if that's a Canadian thing. Anyway, so once I was done that, I used my Copics in slightly different colors than the gumdrops, but to look like the game board, so I have them there to the side, and I was really happy with how this was turning out. I know my coloring is kind of very simple, but once this part happens, you'll see it come together. So to add all of these sugary little details, I used a white Sakura Jelly Roll pen, and I like to use two different ones. I use a .08 and a .1, so one's a little bit thinner, one's a bit thicker. They also have a .05, which I use sometimes, and I just kind of go around and add little dots and lines in areas where I think the light would hit. It kind of gives it a bit of a gumdrop bubble looking feel. And so I did that on all of the main components like the house, the lollipops, the pathway, and then for my gumdrops, I came in and I just added little dots, some larger, some smaller, and you're gonna see I'm gonna change pens to use my even larger .1, and it really adds like kind of a sugary sort of feel to the gumdrops. I thought it was really cute. I'm always hesitant to do these white marks because I'm always scared I'm gonna mess it up, but I think it ended up turning out really well in the end, so I would encourage you to do this even if you feel like you're not confident in it. So last but not least, I am going to pop this up on a card base, and to make sure that I get everything nice and centered, especially after I've spent so much time coloring this, I like to prop it up in my MISTI before adding glue onto my front panel. That way I can butt them both up in the corners and make sure that it is on perfectly symmetrical and straight, just to make it a little bit easier. So last but not least, I wanted to add some embellishments, but I didn't want to add too many sequins, so I found these really cute little peppermint clay pieces in my stash, and I decided to add 3 of them to the house, almost like where the windows would be. I think it adds a really nice touch, and it kind of matches those little lollipops, so I thought that was super cute. So there we have the final card. I hope this gives you an idea for how to stretch your Christmas or holiday themed stamps for other occasions and use them on even more cards. I always appreciate the time that you spend here with me. Don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. You can always find me over on Instagram at Candoodle Creations, and until then, I will see you in my next video. Bye!